Good evening. It's 12:21. Tonight's Wednesday. We're on the verge of a reported to be snowstorm in St. Louis. The weather's supposed to be terrible starting tomorrow. School has already been canceled for the kids, at least the school that they go to. I have to do some real estate stuff, but I've got groceries for tomorrow and Friday. Um, it's just supposed to be super cold on Friday. 2 to 4 inches of snow that will cripple St. Louis. We're not good with the snow. I will be home most likely. I have one listing currently active. I don't expect a lot of showings tomorrow. Um, Real estate agents tend to not want to go out when it's terrible out, and I don't blame them. I don't want to go out, so I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm sorry. Oh, look at that. It's funny. This is my oh gosh, this is my sweater from today when I was working, and then the camera got off because I've been working in the basement. We're going to go over that, but anyway, you tell me. Like I've always heard, like I lived in Michigan for I'm going to go to 8 years tonight. I don't remember exactly when I left for good, um, but it used to snow there. It was a different kind of snow. It was not like this icy, horrid. It seemed to be nice flakes. And it just seemed like people handled snow better than they do here. I mean, I'm honestly concerned to the point where I don't even want to drive tomorrow. Now, I will call. I have an occupancy inspection. I will call the county. It'll be interesting to see if they're open tomorrow. That's another thing that's changed as I've grown up. We no longer, if you're sick, you don't go to work. There's no award for working every day, going to work every day. That's not to be rewarded, or there's no reason for accolades for that. And then we don't travel if it's even close to dangerous. So it wouldn't surprise me if work was canceled tomorrow for people. It's just different. It's just a different world, and I should get hip. I don't know if I alluded to it before, but I did work on the basement tonight. We're going to go over basement progress. I know that's breaking news and something to be excited about. I also have yet to introduce myself. My name is John Schenk. I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small real estate brokerage, residential mostly. It's just me. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. In the evening, I do a live stream, the Deerwood Realty live stream, and we go over pop culture. We go over real estate news, tweets, stuff like that, and we just have a good time. If it's something you think you would like, you should probably hit the subscribe button. But then again, maybe you don't like this type of content. So I don't know. I don't know how you got here. I hope you enjoy it. Our views are off. Like we do really well sometimes, and the algorithm is messing with me lately. So I have no idea what this will bring. But like I said, if you're watching this a year from now, hey, clicking the subscribe button then isn't going to hurt my feelings. Go right ahead. It'd be nice to have you. It'd be nice to be around number of 130. Right now, I'm stuck at 129, but that was better than last week, which was like 126. Now, am I growing exponentially? No, but I am growing a little bit at a time. Had to just set one thing up. Anyway. Well, this is going to be the worst live stream ever. I'm going to do a few things. See, that's going to screw me up, but it's good practice because I'm not very good at when chats come in. I kind of screw those up. So anyway, yeah, snow. I wanted to go. I wanted to go do some stuff, and I know I'm going to get stuck texting back and forth, and I apologize. It's a bad stream for that, but anyway, the real estate business is weird that way. I don't want to talk to the person at like 10:30 tonight. I don't think that would be appropriate. So anyway, what we're going to go over first is well, there's probably the most boring 10 minutes. Nice. Oh my gosh. Do that. Okay. Maybe they'll come back. I am so sorry. Anyway, you understand, hopefully. Let's get to it tonight. We have I wanted to go over the basement. Um I have a picture. I want to share it with you. Here we go. How do I do it? Here we go. Here's the progress on the basement. Like you can see, that's what I did before. I still have to cut that part out, but then this is the new. This is the new. Right there's the pipe. and it still keeps going into the next room. So I'll have to take out the flooring in the next room, but it is running in a straight line. Um, and for those of you new to the sewer situation, I have an insulated floor that you might be able to see here. There's the flooring itself. I like the flooring. I thought it looked good. I didn't want to redo it. So I kind of want to keep the floor. So I've been very careful to cut everything up, and I didn't pay for somebody to come in and do it. It's been a month. I don't think I've gotten a lot done, but today I finally got to it. The real estate business has been busy for me lately. So anyway, I just thought you'd like to see it. Guys, like when I'm not doing the real estate business, I'm actually today, I'll be honest, I worked hard on it. And um, my body hurts. Like it hurts. And I don't know. The only reason why I'm not having someone else do it, like I said, is because I want to save the floor. So um, I don't know. So I've got to work on the floor. And I got to put the texting away. I got to put the texting away during the live stream or it's just not going to fly. So anyway, that was that. Let's get into our article of the day. Shut that down. Okay, we're there. So I'm not, I don't, it's like you can make these grand generalizations. So one of the things that I think you could say is there's too many lawsuits in the United States, right? And I think some people would say, well, there's not enough. Lawyers would say there's not enough. I feel like we live in a very litigious society, and I don't feel like any of the litigation really does anybody any good, at least at the people level. Very seldom, very seldom. Like a class action suit to me doesn't really fix the problem. It makes the lawyers wealthy, and it gives you, like, if you get a massive class action suit, okay, like, the lawyers get paid as they should, I guess, and then the people get like a voucher, like a $5 voucher. Meanwhile, like 5 attorneys are splitting like 100 million. It's kind of gross. I'll be honest with you. That's what I think about that. I look. I don't mean to be general, but I thought this was an interesting article and one that I'd not even considered. I'd not even really um uh how do I put it? It didn't occur to me that you could sue for such a thing. But here's what we will do. We'll go to it and we will put it together. Now, I don't know who this person is. I don't know who is. It starts off, it says Anna de Armas fans' lawsuit puts studios at risk for deceptive trailers. Now, I don't know who Anna de Armas fans are. I don't know who Anna de Armas is. And I'm sorry. It's just like the movies lost me a long time ago. I can't tell you the last. I think Frozen 2 was the last movie I saw in a movie theater. And that was because the kids wanted to see it, and that was God knows when that came out. When did it come out? That's always a fun game that we can play. Um, well, I don't even know. Let's see how messed up this is here. Okay, let me just see. Not there. So it came out in 2019. That's not bad. I'm only what? It's a couple of years back. How do I put it? I don't know. I just lost it. I just lost like you have to I feel like you have to understand. I grew up and we had like the Last Action Hero. Okay. We had Waterworld. We had just some terrible movies, like terrible bombs come out and terrible sequels. And then it doesn't seem like the movies are supposed to appeal to me. 45-year-old dude in the Midwest. I don't know. Anyway, so I don't know who this person is, and I don't really. So like myself, like the question is John, is there someone that you would pay to go see? Well, that would be that Wes Anderson. I would go see a Wes Anderson movie, but I haven't seen the latest movie because I guess to be honest with you, the whole world changed when we had like Netflix and Amazon Prime. I mean, why am I going to a movie theater anyway? They're not that nice. I mean, even if they have like the reclining, like I don't want to sit in a recliner at the movie theater when I can sit at a recliner at home, and I don't want to pay all kinds of money, like 30, 40, 50 bucks for that privilege. There's no reason for me to go to a movie theater. I'll just wait. But like, what is it? What was the Wes Anderson movie now? This is so bad. I've seen all of them except for it was the hotel one. Oh, I missed another one. Damn. The French Dispatch. I missed that one. Um, the Grand Budapest Hotel. I did not I did not see that one. It came out in 2014. Oh my god. I'm just old, I guess. Anyway, let's go over this. So this woman, this actress, okay, let's just get to it. It says movie studios can be sued under false advertising laws if they release deceptive movie trailers, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday. Okay. That's really tough for me. Okay. False advertising laws if they release deceptive movie trailers. It says U.S. District Judge Stephen Wilson issued. By the way, let's just all put it out there right now. This is the worst stream start that I've had in weeks, and I'm sorry, and it will get better, or it won't, but we will keep at it. It says yesterday's judge Stephen Wilson issued a ruling in case involving Yesterday, the 2019 film about a world without the Beatles. Again, that doesn't even sound interesting. Like, who's that movie written for? And so it says two Anna de Armas fans, if I don't even know if I'm saying it right, filed a lawsuit in January alleging that they had rented the movie after seeing de Armas in the trailer, only to discover that she was cut out of the final film. Now, look, that seems odd, right? Why would you have a trailer with somebody in a movie that's not in the movie? That seems wrong. I mean, like you're making a movie. You have like an hour, maybe the movie's like 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. Don't you have enough footage in the movie to not use people that aren't in it? It says Universal sought to throw out the lawsuit, arguing that the movie trailers are entitled to broad protection under the First Amendment. The studio's lawyers argued that a trailer is an artistic, expressive work that tells a 3-minute story conveying the theme of the movie and should thus be considered a non-commercial speech. Now that seems tough to me. I don't understand. Look, I don't understand the First Amendment laws. I really don't, and I don't understand many, many laws. Um, I suspect that you're based on the amount of laws on the books. We're probably committing crimes every day, every one of us, more than once. So, I mean, I'm the last person to get there, but it's like, how does the company have a First Amendment right, a freedom of speech? Like, because it's commercial. I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer. It says, but Wilson rejected that argument, finding that a trailer is commercial speech and is subject to the California false advertising law and the state's unfair competition law. Finding that a trailer is a commercial speech. To me a trailer. Now, look, I'm just putting what I think out there. A trailer for a movie is a commercial for the movie, right? You don't have trailers for movies that don't exist. Universal is correct that trailers involve some creativity and editorial discretion, but this creativity does not outweigh the commercial nature of a trailer. At its core, a trailer is an advertisement designed to sell a movie by providing consumers with a preview of the movie. That's right. I agree with that. You don't watch a movie trailer only to find that the movie's got nothing to do with the trailer you just watched. The whole point in watching the movie was because you saw the trailer and you thought you might like it. In the briefing on the issue, Universal's lawyers argued that movie trailers have long included clips that do not appear in the finished film. They cited Jurassic Park, which had a trailer comprised entirely of footage that was not in the movie. Well, they have a point there. They say, look, we had another movie where we had a film, had a trailer, and it had nothing to do with the movie. And I don't know, like, do you guys, I mean, it's old. I know I'm old, but do you remember like Monty Python when they would have the cartoons within the movies? They weren't always necessarily related exactly to the movie at that moment. It's weird though, like Jurassic Park. I don't know which one they're talking about. It's like for Jurassic Park, for me, it's like you got me once, right? But then how many movies have there been? And I'm just like, I mean, just stop going to the island. It's, I mean, that's a good question. It's fun with Google tonight, I guess. When did I don't know. First of all, I don't even know how many movies came out for Jurassic Park, but I did see the original Jurassic Park, 1993. Apparently, there's been one, two, three, four. There's been 5 other movies. It started with Steven Spielberg, and it's now somebody named Joe Johnson is doing movies for Jurassic Park. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if any of the movies are any good, so I can go back and watch. Let's continue. It said Universal also argued that classifying trailers as commercial speech could open a door to a parade of lawsuits from dissatisfied filmgoers who could make a subjective claim the film did not live up to the expectations caused by the trailer. I think that's true. I think that's true. I think you could say, hey, this trailer looked good and this movie sucked. But then doesn't that happen now? And no one gets sued. And then they say, well, if you change the law, then you could sue. Should you be able to sue for a crappy movie? I don't know. I've seen so many bad movies. Under plaintiff's reasoning, a trailer would be stripped of full First Amendment protection and subject to burdensome litigation anytime a viewer claimed to be disappointed with whether and how much of any person or scene they saw in the trailer was in the final film, with whether the movie fit into the kind of genre they claimed to expect, or any of an unlimited number of disappointments a viewer could claim, the studio's lawyers argued. I think that's fair. Wilson, which is the judge, not the volleyball in that Tom Hanks movie, Castaway, I did not see Castaway in the movie theater. Castaway came out in 2000, 22 years ago. Oh man, time goes by so fast. Anyway, um, sought to address that concern, saying the false advertising law applies only when a significant portion of reasonable consumers could be misled. Now, I mean, like I come to you every night as a live streamer. Am I reasonable? Are you reasonable? I always thought that I'm the most reasonable person ever, but then I see the world as it is, and I'm not. I'm not the most reasonable. The court's holding is limited to representations as to whether an actress or scene is in the movie and nothing else. Again, though, going back to the Jurassic Park, the scene isn't in the movie and the actress isn't in the movie in that one, and nothing else. The judge wrote, holding that based on the yesterday trailer, it was plausible that viewers would expect Dee Armas to have a significant role in the film. Again, I don't know who she is, so it wouldn't even be beneficial at all for me. It says Dee Armas was originally intended to appear as a love interest for the film's protagonist, played by Himesh Patel, who I also don't know. Patel's character was to have met her on the set of James Corden's talk show, where Patel would serenade her with the Beatles song Something, which I don't understand because the movie makes no sense. This is about a film about a world without the Beatles, and yet they're doing Beatles songs by other people. I don't know. I'm sure it's great. I have no idea. Richard Curtis, the screenwriter, explained that Dee Armas was cut because audience didn't like the idea of Patel's character straying from his primary love interest, played by Lily James. Well, then you shouldn't have done that. You should not have put her in the trailer when she's not in the movie. I agree. I agree with that. It says the plaintiffs, Connor Wolf of Maryland and Peter Michael Rosa of San Diego, California. I mean, on each side of the coast, people were angry about what happened. Each paid $3.99 to rent yesterday on Amazon Prime. Holy smokes. Can you believe that? $3.99. They're seeking at least $5 million as representatives of a class of movie customers. The case will now proceed to discovery and a motion for class certification. So I don't understand, I don't understand the courts that much. So he issued a ruling, but there still needs to be proceed to discovery and a motion for classification. It'd be interesting to know what discovery would be in that. I mean, you're going to discover that she's not in the movie. In all honesty, that's what you're going to discover. I mean, does it matter why she's not in the movie? I don't know. Anyway, put your thoughts in the comments below. Put it in the chat. Come chat with me. Deerwood Realty, moving on. What is the mortgage rate today? 6.28%. Down 10 basis points from yesterday, which was 6.38%. Look, the spread between the Fed funds rate and the mortgage rate is larger than it normally is. I don't know why that is, other than to think that the value of a mortgage, there's more risk on the mortgage than a traditional treasury note. But you can't get a treasury note for that rate. So I don't even understand that. As far as the Fed funds rate, that's its own thing. You can't buy a Fed funds rate bond. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, what would I say to that? Look, I keep hearing that people are coming back into the market because the rates are going down below 7. I've said I want the rates to be at 5.5%. I don't believe that a buyer is just like, okay, well, the rates are down to 7. I need to go buy. I just don't feel like that's the case. I mean, the data may show it. That doesn't mean I believe it. Whose data and over what period of time? I don't know. That's just where I'm at tonight. You can tell me I'm wrong. Let's get into Twitter. Twitter, I thought this was interesting. It says, not everyone, this is from Danielle Levy. Not everyone who bought real estate in early 2022 were trying to make a buck. A lot of people who had wanted to get into the market and become first-time homebuyers and weren't guided with care. This woman is in Canada. I do believe that's true. I do believe that's true. I still, even now, buyers and sellers in my experience are that they're just looking for a home. They're not, they're not looking to make a killing. And this is why does this matter? Well, it matters because investors were squeezing out regular home buyers. And then not just investors like, fix and flip people, but like large Wall Street backed firms, Open Door, Zillow, um, whatever the other one's called, OfferPad. I mean, they had a tremendous advantage over a regular buyer. Blackstone behind them. I had an offer in one of my homes from Blackstone out of Colorado. Um, they were offering cash and they were pretty close to the asking price. The only problem is we were like, way over the asking price. Um, so there's that. And then we have the issue of short-term rentals, which will come into play a little bit later in our tweets, I believe. You know, if you can get, like, if your normal mortgage rate is like, say, $500, and you can rent that thing out, for $500 a weekend or more. I mean, you can make a tremendous amount of money if you can keep it occupied, but it also raises the value of that property to you versus a homeowner who's going to live there. And like, I don't think it's getting fixed by the federal government. Okay. I don't think the federal government is capable of fixing anything. I'm leery of the state governments being able to fix anything. Um, in my lifetime, I don't know what they have fixed. Like, I can't name one thing that's been fixed by the federal government or the state government, like actually fixed. One problem. Just give me one problem that they've fixed. Solved. You may say Obamacare, fix that. I don't feel like that's fixed. Uh, Wars, I don't feel like we fixed those. Um, Big Pharma, I definitely don't think that's been fixed. Anything, like, I just don't see where it's been fixed. If anything, it's gotten worse when they do get involved. What do you think? Put your comments in the chat. Put your comments in the comment section if it's like 6 months from now and you're watching this. So anyway, I would I am a capitalist. I am, but I believe that the government should determine the rules of the game being played. And rather than that, what they do is play a game of crony capitalism, which I'm not for. When they pick winners and losers, I'm not for that. If you want to be a socialist, I'm okay with it. I understand your thinking. And I hate crony capitalism more than I hate anything else. So that's that. Lance Lambert pulled this up. He wrote a big piece, 378 364 housing markets remain below pre-pandemic inventory levels. St. Louis is barely moved for inventory. We 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 have a lot of inventory. I'm a little bit surprised by this chart, given what I know in the marketplace. I do still have people looking at homes for sale, like listings. Not like it used to be, but there are still people out there. And when I actually have somebody that wants to buy a house, I just met with them earlier this week. They want to start the house buying tour, and it's like they feel they need to get out of their where they currently live. That's just it. That's the deal. They don't care about um they don't care about the market or anything else. They just want to move. Just putting it out there. So very interesting, I thought. This is Jeff Winiger. Japan's stock market returns in the 1980s are a thing of legend. A mania that gets put up there with South Sea Bubble.com, etc. The Nasdaq's 12-year run from 2009 to 2021 witnessed returns in excess of Japan's final 12 years, 1977 and 1989. Now, there was a movie with Michael Keaton. It's movie night. It was called Gung Ho. Gung Ho. Michael Keaton. I don't know if you know who Michael Keaton is. He's a big deal. Actor. But anyway, Gung Ho. And it was about how the Japanese people, because of the way they are, were gonna take over all industry all across the world. This little island was gonna just crush us. And they were. And I don't know what happened. They blew up. But when I think about China and how they're going to eat our lunch, they're already eating our lunch. You wonder if they're going to blow up too. Like, because Japan, I mean, I'm telling you, people were like, we can't build cars in the United States anymore. Well, it turns out we can't. They were like, but I don't think they ever had our industry like China does now. I mean, that China just stole our industry. I mean, we gave it to them, but it's just like, man. Now look at this. So see this 1977 to 1989, and this is now March of 2009 to 2021. I mean, this is not good. In 2021, I mean, you can see it going down. Look at the kind of the stagnation in the stock market for the Japanese from 1989 to like 2010. Are we looking at 10 years or longer of they had stagflation. That was what it was. Are we looking at the same thing? Oh, that would suck. Trisha Balsizer, we're going with, was just preparing a presentation for a seller and had this graph ready to justify pricing strategy. Now, look, this is a very interesting thing if you're a real estate agent, because I don't see other people's listing presentations. I don't see any of them. I have no idea. So I very seldom ever whip out like a bunch of charts. I've never felt like I've lost a deal because of my listing presentation not having enough facts and figures and numbers. I typically don't even do a listing presentation. I typically go to the house, I look at it, and I say, I'll get back to you in a little bit when I see some other houses in the neighborhood that I think are comparable or in this area. And then I go from there. Most people I work with are thrilled with that approach because they don't really like to be sold anything. They're looking more for a consultant, someone they can trust. I don't think that throwing a bunch of numbers in someone's face puts off that level of trust. Now, look, I'm not the top real estate agent in St. Louis. I'm not even as far as volume, I'm not even in the top. Oh, probably. I'm probably not even in the top. Gosh, I would guess I'm in the lower quadrant. It's just the way. It's just the way I am, though. I mean, I never really wanted to do the things that I would need to do to be in the top echelon. I don't want to grow a team of 50 agents. I don't want I have no interest in that. I don't want to lie to people constantly about every little thing. I just I just don't want it. And so this is why I'm where I'm at. I also don't I don't know. Anyway, so if I went on a listing appointment, I'd say, "Well, how much do you want for the house? What do you think the house is worth?" And they would say, "Well, what do you think?" We'll say, "Based on what I see, it's worth about X. Is that what you'd be comfortable with?" Well, they say, "You're the expert. You go for it." Or they say, "I don't really like that number. I'd like to go here." I say, "Okay, well, if we go there, it's probably going to cost us more money down the road. But if that's what you want, that's what we're going to do." I mean, I feel like I've always been able to make numbers up to get any sort of number I want. I don't think it's, you know, I've never been comfortable. Like, whenever I'm being shopped, whenever they call like six real estate agents and they're like, "Well, what number do you think it is?" And if I come up with the top number, then I get the listing, I win. It's like, I'm not, that's not a game I'm interested in playing. I'm just telling you how it is with me. So, yeah, it says, look, the active listings are going down in a jagged form, but they're going up. I mean, there's more of them. And then the new pendings are going down. And this is in Florida. Oh, sorry. I hit the microphone with my chin. I don't feel like I have to justify pricing strategy. I think if you're pulling a comp from like the summer, you're not going to make it. Like, that's not the number. But whatever. Patrick Zweifel. I thought this was an interesting setup. It says, no, this is one of three. Yeah. Apologize. It says, no sign yet of stabilization in the U.S. housing market. Activity is falling to its lowest level in over 10 years. The speed of contraction is the fastest in the 40-year history of our index. That's pretty amazing. I don't know if I can get the chart to come up. Can you see that? Wham. It's not good. Just saying. It says 2 of 3. Our housing activity index, which has historically led home prices by 1 year, now points to a fall of home prices by 7.8% year over year. Now, everyone's telling us that we're going to get well, I mean, Realtor.com and Zillow and um, National Association of Realtors are saying we should see some gains, probably in the 6%, I believe, region for 2023. I've thought that's a little bit suspect myself, just me. But it says housing affordability at its lowest since the mid 80s, as the typical mortgage payment represents more than 27% of income for a median family income buying a median priced home at current mortgage rates. Typical mortgage payments highest since the mid 80s. I don't think that's so good. But can I, if I could just, if I may, look, I'm just checking to see if anybody's on the chat. It says, look, like, just understand, like, people have a real tough time with understanding this. People say, well, John, why doesn't everybody have a 2,500 square foot home? We look at parts of Afton where I have my office, where I grew up, and it's like, John, why is there an 800 square foot house here? Like, why didn't the people buy why didn't they build a 2,000 square foot house? And it's like, well, look, a long time ago, people didn't have the money. The 30-year mortgage was a way to gain wealth, but they didn't know that then. I mean, this was post World War II housing. This is what people could afford. it's a fairly recent phenomenon from the 80s that people can afford houses because mortgage rates aren't terrible. Remember, from the mid 80s, earlier than that, in the 70s, you had a terrible problem with inflation, which is what I feel like we have today. I don't think things are going to get better. I think they're just going to continue. Liz Ann Saunders' number of multifamily housing units under construction has risen to the highest since December of 1973. This was December 22nd. Multifamily units under construction has risen to the highest since December of 1973. That's amazing. Last one. Low income San Diegans are struggling. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to go here. Unbelievable. This is from Encore Bubble. I just want to make sure that I put the link in my description. I did. The STRA, that's the Short Term Rental Association group, is suing the city of San Diego over the ordinance. They claim, and I shit you not, that low income people of color are losing beach access because they can't come to these insanely expensive coastal Airbnbs. I don't like to use race in arguments. I don't. I like to have my arguments based solely on the economics. For as far as affordability and that, I hate using race. I hate using marginalized groups. That people use them as pawns, and it's just disgusting. The full details here. It says the funded industry group San Diego Short-Term Rental Alliance is suing the city of San Diego over the short-term rental ordinance. It says their November 23rd, 2022 filing is here. We're not, and the city requests dismissal, which is pretty amazing. It says low-income San Diegans are struggling to find housing due to the proliferation of Airbnbs, especially multi-unit Airbnb businesses that own 60+% of units. There are more whole home Airbnbs than there are available rental or for sale homes. It seems like a problem. And you say, John, why are you bothering yourself with like San Diego real estate? Why do you bother yourself with Canadian real estate? Why do you bother yourself with UK real estate? It's not that things will be exactly the same in St. Louis. In fact, they're not. I mean, we're not dealing with the drop in prices that some people have dealt with. I mean, things are soft right now, but they're not like a disaster. People are still in pretty good shape. The thing is, like, when you're up 25% year over year and then 16% year over year, if you have a drop of 3 to 5% home prices, that really doesn't matter. It really doesn't hurt anything. And that's kind of where we are in St. Louis right now. But anyway, the short-term rental, I said it was going to come back up, and I mean it. I feel like something needs to be done with a lot of this stuff, because I feel like the people that actually go to work are not able to afford homes. And we're not talking about the $400,000 ones. We're talking about I believe that, I honestly believe that economics in a country are so important, because when people starve, that's when the wars start. People fan the flames of wars now. I mean, we talk about division. We create division for clicks. We create division for personal gain. But when people stop eating or stop with the ability to eat, they're not interested in your kind of quote unquote woke culture. They're interested in eating. And you say, well, we're the most prosperous nation in the world. That would never happen. Okay. U.S. building permits collapse in November. Multifamily plans plunge. This is counter. Well, it's not counter to what we read. We read that multifamily construction permits are at the highest rate since 1973. After the dismal homebuilder sentiment data earlier in the week, it's no surprise that analysts expecting a drop in both housing starts and building permits for November, and they were right. While housing starts fell 0.5% month over month, better than the 1.8% drop expected. As incentives dominated inventory liquidation, forward-looking building permits collapsed 11.2% month over month versus negative 2.1, the biggest month over month drop since the peak of the COVID lockdowns. That leaves the total number of housing starts at the lowest since June of 2020 for permits. Housing permits are down 22% year over year, the biggest drop since 2009, with single-family permits negative 29.7% year over year and multifamily down 10.7%. Under the hood, this is the ninth straight month of single-family housing unit permits declines. But more notably, multifamily permits plunged. On the starts side, single-family dropped for eighth month of the 9, while multifamily starts managed a small rise month over month. Single-family permits dropped 7.1%. From 841,000 to 781,000, the slowest since May of 2020. Multifamily permits tumbled from 17.9% from 620,000 to 509,000, the lowest since May of 2021. Single-family starts dropped 4.1% from 863,000 to 828,000, the lowest since May of 2020. Multifamily starts rose 4.8% from 557 to 584,000, the highest since April of 2022. Finally, circling back to the start of this note, we suspect building permits, forward-looking, face significantly more pressure as homebuilder expectations for future sales is at decade lows. That's the chart. That's not good. Let's talk about this in a few different ways. One, if you're a homebuilder and you think that the market is going to go down, you probably aren't going to be wanting to put in new permits for building. I'm just guessing. The other thing that I think builders are facing that is even worse is like they're not borrowing. Like if you can borrow at like 5 to 7%, they're not borrowing at 7%. They may be borrowing at this point in the 10s, 11%. I mean, they really don't want to be holding on to property for a long period of time or land. I mean, they're paying on that, and it's a good chunk of change. What will that do? Can we forecast what that will do in the future? Well, first of all, multifamily had been the beacon of hope for many in the house. They're saying just last month, well, housing starts are down, but at least we have multifamilies to prop things up and to keep going. Well, now what happens when both go down? It's not good. On the flip side, you could say, well, at least they're still building them. Then you could argue, well, they have to because they've got everything under contract. And if they don't build, they're going to die. They have no choice. I don't know how this is going to quote unquote break. I don't know which direction it's going to go. Can it break to the upside? I guess. But are we trying to break to the upside or are we trying to break to a not as horrible situation? I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing. All I can tell you is what I've learned in my life. I mean, that's happened to me personally is you buy a house and look at my house right now. I have no kitchen sink or dishwasher. I literally have to dig up my sewer in my basement. Okay. It's not fun, but you know what? Over the years, if you can stay in the house and keep it in shape, there should be, at the end of the day, you should get more in the selling price than what you bought it for. It doesn't mean more money. I mean, you may have put in a ton of money in your home. This is going to cost me a small fortune. Okay. So that should be added to any sort of proceeds that I get on a sale, but it won't be because oddly enough, and it's always been this way, just because you put money in a home doesn't mean that the market is going to give you that money back. And that's the argument for renting long term. People would say, well, you rent because you don't get stuck with weird ass payments. My argument is you don't rent because you're at the mercy of someone else throwing you out if you lose your job, for the most part. And typically and historically, rents were higher than home payments. But I could see the argument to never buy a home. I'm a real estate agent. I'm not ashamed to admit that. This was from Schiff Gold, but it's more like from the people around Peter Schiff. I thought the headline was perfect. Everything is fine until it isn't. Yes. That's what I've experienced in my life. For months, Peter Schiff, me, and a few others have been saying the economy is teetering on the brink of collapse, but nothing has happened. Are we just wrong? I told my lender, Shelly, I said, Shelly, it seems like it's a slow moving train wreck. This can't continue like this. And she's like, I know, but it doesn't happen all in one time. So it's hard to see it. It could be easy to conclude that we're all crying wolf, but before you write us off, I think you should consider another factor. Predicting the exact timing of an event is much harder than generally recognizing that an event is on the horizon. Well, I'm of this belief that if you think you can actually think something into being. Behavioral economists, in the sense that, like when I was in Detroit and the automotive sector was getting hammered, people stopped buying things because they were afraid they weren't going to have jobs. They may have had jobs, but they were worried they weren't going to have a job. So that in turn brought down consumption. It's a little bit like forecasting weather. A meteorologist might know that a cold front is coming next week. She can see changes in the atmosphere, but knowing a cold front is looming and saying it will come through at precisely 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday are two different matters. That's exactly right. I don't know. I like to look at the weather apps. I like to look at the 10-day forecast and then laugh because they're not very accurate. I mean, you only get about 3 days to where they're somewhat accurate. Even then, it's a crapshoot. This is what I'm seeing. I don't know. Maybe you've got a better weather app than I. There's plenty of data out there suggesting that the U.S. economy is already in the midst of a downturn. There's also some tremors under the surface signaling the underlying rot in the economy. For instance, some analysts have already said the volatility in the bond market could force the Federal Reserve to abandon the balance sheet reduction, but there is still enough momentum in the economy to allow people to plausibly deny the problems. It says there's plenty of data out there suggesting the U.S. economy is already in the midst of a downturn. There's also some tremors under the surface signaling the underlying rot in the economy. For instance, some analysts have already said the volatility in the bond market could force the Federal Reserve to abandon balance sheet reduction, but there's still some momentum in the economy to allow people to plausibly deny the problems, or they willfully deny the problems. They don't see the problems that you see. They don't agree with you that the things you see are problems. There are people that say we're not in a recession. I think we're in a recession. Arguments about data aside, I said when the Fed cranked up interest rates another 50 basis points at its December meeting, my pessimism is rooted in more fundamental dynamics. In a nutshell, this economy is not built to operate in a high interest rate environment, and the Fed has now raised interest rates to the highest level since 2007. What I would ask you then is what economy is built to operate in a high interest rate environment? Quite simply, the U.S. economy is addicted to easy money. Yes, that's true. It's addicted to artificially low interest rates and quantitative easing. You can't take an addict's drug away without sending them into withdrawal. Well, I mean, this is the economy, and maybe you can get away with it. I'm just saying. I don't agree with that. I think that this is exactly what's going on. In the aftermath of 9/11 and the dot-com bubble bursting, the Fed dropped rates to 1% at the time, historically low level. That blew up the housing bubble. In 2004, the Fed began normalizing rates. They've peaked at 5.25% in 2006. That precipitated the housing bust and ultimately financial crisis of 2008. Now, look, this is key. These economists for Schiff believe that the Fed never fixed the inflation of the dot-com bubble. The Fed dropping rates to 1% at the historically low level. Okay. They think that 9/11 was 2001. So they say that this is a continuation of the problem that has existed since then. That's their argument. I'm not interested in if it's correct or not. I'm just trying to put it out there so that you know where these people are coming from. It says today the Fed has pushed rates within 1% of that level, but there's a major difference between then and now. The bubbles are bigger. There is more debt. There's more malinvestment. If the extent of the bust is commensurate with the extent of the boom, then we're due for a doozy. Do you think that the bubble is bigger right now? Do you think that the economic bubble that we're in is bigger across the board? It's hard for me to say that because inflation is just eating away at everything. To be fair, Peter Schiff and I aren't the only people worried about a recession. There are a lot of people in the mainstream saying the Fed needs to stop raising rates or it's going to cause an economic downturn. The folks are only half right. It's not the rate hikes that will cause a recession. The Fed set that stage when it cut rates in the first place. Economist Daniel Lacal summed up perfectly. Sorry, my nose itches. In a recent Bloomberg article, a group of economists voiced their fears that the Federal Reserve's inflation fight may create an unnecessarily deep downturn. However, the Federal Reserve does not create a downturn due to rate hikes. It creates the foundations of a crisis by unnecessarily lowering rates to negative territory and aggressively increasing its balance sheet. It is the malinvestment and excessive risk-taking fueled by cheap money that led to a recession. See, it's not the rate hikes that will cause a recession. The Fed set that stage when it cut rates in the first place. When you understand these economic fundamentals, it becomes clear that the U.S. economy is heading toward a cliff. But still can't tell you exactly when it will plunge over. A few days ago, now there have been, like for me, there have been moments where I thought, this is it. This is the thing. The crypto collapse. I really thought that was the moment that we were like, oh my God, here the economy is going to go off a cliff. When Amazon started laying off people, Facebook started laying off people, I thought, oh my God, the economy is going to go off a cliff. When Credit Suisse, I don't know, was rumored to be going under, when the UK had banking issues a couple months back, I thought we were in trouble. I thought those were the moments that we were going to see things eat it. A few days ago, I was revisiting the timeline before the 2008 financial crisis and the ensuing Great Recession, and I realized the dynamics were much the same in 2006 and 2007 as they are today. Now, look, we read Lawrence Yun come out yesterday and say, look, this is in no way like 2008. I mean, different economists say different things. Peter Schiff, Ron Paul, and a few others were warning of a housing bust and a financial crisis as the mainstream insisted everything was fine. In fact, up until the point Lehman Brothers went under in the fall of 2008, some people were still insisting everything was fine. I remember reading that a value stock to buy was a company called Bear Stearns. They'd been around for 100 years. Sure, they had negative earnings, but you know what? It's just a little blip. They're going to be fine. That's where you should be sticking your money. Bear Stearns, a value stock, quite the value stock as it went to zero. Of course, in retrospect, everything was far from fine as back as 2006. The Fed knew everything wasn't fine. That's why it started cutting interest rates in 2007, while still insisting everything was fine. My point here is that everything is fine until it isn't. The Fed has been slowly cranking down the amount of drug it's giving to the addict. The addict is already feeling the pain, but hoping against hope he will get a bigger fix soon. That's why markets react with glee every time we get bad economic news or good news on the inflation front. The addict thinks that means the Fed will go back to the status quo, pushing the drugs. But it's its December meeting. The Fed cranked down the drug level even lower. Jerome Powell keeps saying that the Fed can still manage a soft landing. But no matter what the pusher says, you can't take away an addict's drug without causing pain. And at some point, the addict is going to go into full-blown withdrawal. That's why I'm convinced that at some point in the relatively near future, something big will break. There will be another Lehman-type event that sets off a crash. Nobody can deny. But when that happens, I can't say. It could be the next week, next month, or even a year from now. Regardless, I believe the die has already been cast. It was cast the moment the Fed started running the printing press. The question is, what does the Fed do when this happens? How will it respond when it can no longer plausibly deny the economic chaos? Does it go back to giving the addict his drug, or does it let the addict die? It goes back to giving the addict his drug because it's political. The Fed is a political office. The Fed is controlled by the politicians. They will just go back to easy money policies and paper over it. It does that. They do that over and over and over again. Look at the spending bill that was just passed by both sides of Congress. I mean, just disgusting. Just disgusting. Or that will be passed if it hasn't passed already. If history is any indication, the Fed will go back to drugging up the economy. That means inflation wins. And if it doesn't, you can expect a financial crisis that will make 2008 look like good times. As Peter Schiff said in a recent tweet, a pivot will send inflation soaring, which will compound the problem. But if they don't pivot, we just don't get a severe recession. We get a worse financial crisis than the one we had in 2008. And that's what's going to happen. I do believe they're going to pivot. I do believe that we'll just see inflation continue to go up. And I don't think that they have any real control over it. I think we're already toast. Moving on. This is the last article of the night, and I just wanted to go over it in the sense, like, when you think of Wells Fargo, I bet you think that they're a wonderful corporation, that they would never do anything to hurt people. Well, it turns out they just were ordered to pay $3.7 billion for illegal activity, including unjust foreclosures and vehicle repossessions. What is my point? My point is this: as I've gone through this life as someone trying to run a business, I've had opportunities where I could take a shortcut, where maybe it would boost my growth in the short term and maybe long term down the road if I just compromise on my principles. If I just if I just go on credit, just go on credit. Don't go on cash. Just go on credit. It'll all work itself out, right? If I just commit a crime here or there, I'll do better off. I'll be better off. But that would make me no different than these massive corporations. And that's the difference. I mean, when you're working with someone like myself, we're trying to hold ourselves, we're trying to be accountable for our actions, and we're trying to represent you in a way that's the most professional you can be. That's not the case with these large corporations. Their business doesn't rely on your success. It relies on just a numbers game. How many empty, vapid souls can they get through their organization during their lifetime? I mean, it's bad. Here we go. What did they do? It says federal regulators fined Wells Fargo a record of $1.7 billion on Tuesday for widespread mismanagement over multiple years that were harmed over 16 million consumer accounts. Now look, that harmed over 16 million. Now look at me. I don't have 16 million of anything. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said Wells Fargo's legal activity included repeatedly misapplying loan payments, wrongfully foreclosing on homes, illegally repossessing vehicles, incorrectly assessing fees and interest, and charging surprise overdraft fees. And now this is a company that you want to work with or work for? The CFPB ordered Wells Fargo to pay $1.7 billion civil penalty, in addition to more than $2 billion to compensate consumers for a range of illegal activities. CFPB officials say this is the largest penalty imposed by the agency. They're the second largest bank in the United States? This is child's play to them. The misconduct described by the CFPB echoes previously reported revelations that have emerged about Wells Fargo since 2016, when the bank's fake account scandal reached a national firestorm. It says Wells Fargo's recent repeat cycle of violating the law has harmed millions of American families. But see, to me, I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't even have to be a family. You can harm an individual, and it's still not right. Said Rohit Chopra, the CFPB's director, in a statement. Officials made it clear on Tuesday that Wells Fargo is not nearly out of the penalty box with regulators. I mean, come on. Chopra described Wells Fargo as a repeat offender and a corporate recidivist, adding that Tuesday's fine is just an initial step towards holding the bank accountable. During a call with reporters, Chopra said the new settlement should not be read as a signal that Wells Fargo has moved past its long-standing problems or that the CFPB's work is done here. It says, for instance, Chopra noted the settlement does not provide immunity for individuals at Wells Fargo, and the agency recognizes the $3.7 billion in fines and restitutions will not fix the bank's problems. Now, if you're telling me an organization can't be fixed with a $3.7 billion fine, like there's something wrong with that company. Although Chopra credited Wells Fargo with making some progress, he said it's not clear they are making rapid enough progress, and said the agency is concerned that the bank's product launches, growth initiatives, and profit-boosting efforts have delayed needed reform. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that this regulator should be telling a bank how to run their business. I think the regulator should be regulating the bank in the sense of, hey, are you following the law or not? Are you getting advantages that other companies aren't? We needed to do something about that. Hinting at further penalties ahead, the CFPB officials said regulators must consider whether the additional limitations need to be placed on Wells Fargo beyond the unprecedented asset cap imposed in 2018. In a statement, Wells Fargo emphasized the broad-reaching settlement with the CFPB resolves multiple matters, most of which have been outstanding for several years. The bank said the required actions are already substantially complete. Well, so there's just a difference of opinion. So why did they settle? Why did they settle? Was there politics involved? Was there a slow news day? We and our regulators have identified a series of unacceptable practices that we've been working systematically to change and provide customer remediation where warranted. This far-reaching agreement is an important milestone in our work to transform the operating practices at Wells Fargo and put these issues behind us. Wells Fargo expects the CFPB settlement will cost it $3.5 billion before taxes in the fourth quarter. A fine of $3.5 billion, and they're not even solved. It says systematic failures. According to the CFPB's enforcement action, Wells Fargo had systematic failures in its auto loan business that harmed more than 11 million accounts. Those failures caused Wells Fargo to wrongfully repossess some borrowers' vehicles, to improperly charge fees and interest, and to fail to refund certain fees, regulators say. Moreover, regulators say Wells Fargo probably denied thousands of mortgage loan modifications, causing some customers to lose their homes in wrongful foreclosures. I mean, this is terrible. By the way, this is an ad. 30-year fix. Good luck getting a 30-year fixed at 5.75% on a 30-year fixed right now. It's an absolute joke. The fact that you're allowed to do this, to advertise numbers that aren't real, just is gross. Then we've got systematic failures. It says the bank was aware of the problems for years before it ultimately addressed the issue. Wells Fargo also illegally charged surprise overdraft fees and unlawfully froze more than 1 million consumer accounts, blocking consumers from accessing their funds for an average of at least 2 weeks. That is unacceptable. That is a serious issue in our country. This economic warfare that banks are allowed to, PayPal, what's that company? Patreon. These companies are able to hold your funds that you deposit or that you earn if you don't follow their social rules. It's very, very disgusting, and it's a shame that we've gotten to that. Billions in refunds to customers. It says the Wells Fargo scandal that began in 2016 drew a spotlight to Wells Fargo's treatment of employees and customers, triggering congressional hearings, countless regulatory probes, and the ouster of two of the bank's CEOs, and her finally act of chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, in February threw the book at Wells Fargo by imposing unprecedented penalties on the bank that remain in place today. Senator Warren on Tuesday applauded the new penalties on Wells Fargo and pushed for even more. Of course, Elizabeth Warren did. This is a much-needed accountability after Wells Fargo repeatedly abused customers. The CFPB said the more than $2 billion in consumer refunds Wells Fargo has been ordered to pay includes more than $1.3 billion to consumers hurt by the bank's auto lending tactics, and more than $500 million for illegal surprise overdraft fees and misconduct related to deposit account. But look, once you lose your car, it's gone. Like, you give me $500 back when I needed to make a car payment. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't make me whole. You freezing my bank account when I need to pay my bills, you giving me back like $200 for that, that doesn't solve my problem. Going forward, Wells Fargo has been ordered by the CFPB to make sure auto loan borrowers receive funds for certain add-on fees and to stop charging bank account holders surprise overdraft fees. Oh, great. It's like, hey, this is a law. Like, can you please follow it? They're like, okay. The agency said these fees are imposed when customers have available funds at the time of purchase, but then subsequently had a negative balance once the transaction settled. I want to know, it says right here, regulators fined Wells Fargo a record $1.7 billion on Tuesday. Where's that $1.7 billion of the total $2 billion, or of the total $3.7 billion? There's $1 billion floating around, $1.7 billion floating around that gets sent to the federal government? And if that's the case, I mean, who does the federal government give the $1 billion to? Non-governmental organizations? And of those non-organizations, which ones are dedicated to helping consumers and not some sort of left-wing or right-wing political machine? These are the questions you should probably be asking. They're the questions that I'm asking. Probably won't get an answer. This is not for me, right? It's not my problem. Okay. With that, I'm going to head on out. Hey, look. Hey, yes. Thank you. You're back. I can't believe that. Congratulations. Look at it. I mean, it's just kind of fun. So you can't even block them. Like they'll still come back. Isn't that amazing? I think that's great. Well, what did we learn tonight? Well, we learned that I shouldn't text or try to conduct business on the phone when I'm doing a live stream. That was bad. Um, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one, which will be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central Time. Good night.